You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. Today's guest is an amazing guest because not only is he helping one type of business, but he's helping the local communities with his business, but not directly. It's indirectly. It's great. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He started at a large internet firm, rising the ranks easily in the top 10% of the accounts there, growing the business, then decided, this is not for me. He was outperforming everybody. He decided to jump out, go over and try his own. Now he helps marketing agency with programs and solutions to solve their clients so that local businesses can grow. Ladies and gentlemen, please, from the prepared group, Mr. Ken Cook. Ken, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, man. That was a great intro. I love it.
Thank God. I thought it was horrible, but I'm always judgy on myself because I am trying to get out of the perfectionist mode. But yes, Ken, that was an okay intro, I would say, but could you introduce yourself to my audience so they can get to a little bit more about you?
Absolutely. So I live in Oregon wine country. Grew up on a cattle farm in rural Oregon. Raising cows, that kind of a thing. I know, right? Went from there to a philosophy classroom.
Okay.
Yeah. And ended up getting a job in marketing and did pretty well in that. And here we are. It's been kind of a fun journey. I own a few businesses now. Actually just sold one of them on the 1st, so 7 days ago, which was exciting. And so yeah, excited to have a chat today, man. Very excited.
Okay, so this is great because you have a very interesting story. You go first from you grew up on a cattle farm raising cattle. And if you guys aren't watching the YouTube video, that's fine. If you're listening, Ken has a very nice Stetson on. That's a Stetson, right?
Oh, it certainly is a Stetson.
Okay, yeah. I watch Yellowstone, so I understand how important hats are, and so I don't want to mistake and upset you already because you grew up on a cattle farm. You probably could bench press me easily. So yes, he's wearing a very nice Stetson. But yeah, so you grew up on a cattle farm, in probably rural Oregon, like you said, wine country Oregon. I don't want to sound because I'm an East Coast person, but jumping into the internet, it doesn't seem like the obvious connection, going from sure, philosophy and then over into the internet marketing world.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So here's what happened is I went to school at a Christian college called George Fox University. And I went there for philosophy to do apologetics and to work in ministry and to work as a pastor. And so I worked as a pastor while I was going to school and got an opportunity to go work for a very large apologetics ministry that was completely online. Okay. So in the first decade I was there, they reached over 100 million people on the internet from literally every country, from places I didn't know were countries, right? I mean, literally, I'm looking on the Google Analytics sheet and it's that's a country? I've got to Google this because I've never heard of this place, right? So literally reached, it was a regular occurrence that every year we reached at least one person. And so what ended up happening there is I was the young guy and donations were down. And so they said, look, someone needs to go get a job. And I said, look, I'm the youngest guy. I'll go get a job and I'll do this on the side, nights and weekends, whatever I can do. And the first job that I got was at this internet marketing firm, and they had 650 employees, 7 offices, and they cold called Google AdWords and Yahoo and Overture search ads, and then ultimately Facebook. And so I cold called for years, slinging Google ads, right? Got promoted into their strategy department. And I had the coolest boss. His name was Tony. And Tony said, an hour a day, your job is to study marketing. I want you to study the craft of marketing. So he literally paid us an hour a day to read, research, and study marketing. Okay. From there, I ended up running the high dollar web dev department, doing high-end websites, SEO.
The money-making places.
Big money. And in fact, so it was really cool. The company was doing just gobs of money, right?
Printing its own money machine, pretty much.
The number that I have in my head, which may or may not be accurate, is 300 million. The owner finally made enough money, put his brother-in-law in charge. His brother-in-law took it from 650 people to when I left, there were 70 in 18 easy months, man. And so, long story short, I had an opportunity to go work for another marketing agency. I'm sitting there in the final interview with the owner and the general manager, and on the owner's desk, I'll never forget this, is a picture of he and his wife and his son. And on his computer screensaver, for the kids listening, this is a thing that used to be on computer screens to keep them from burning out, was pictures of he and his mistress on a wine tour. And I walked out of there saying to myself, if this is what he's willing to do to his family, what's he willing to do to his employee, right?
That's horrible.
So there was a client that I had made a ton of money for. His name was Jim. He ran a company called Long Island Wine Tours, and he kind of become a mentor to me. Like, he was a client, but he started the first wine tour company on Long Island and was very successful. And so I called him and I said, Jim, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was going to go do this thing, office, salary, personal assistant, whole 9 yards, everything you want, view of the lake, everything.
The dream.
Right. And now I can't go work for this guy. What am I going to do? He goes, here's what you're going to do. You're going to start your own company. I'll give you a year's salary to help you get up and going. Where should I send the check? And I said, I don't know anything about starting a business, Jim. And he goes, you'll figure it out. You're a smart kid. What's your address? I'm sending you the check right now.
Jeez.
And 2 days later, I got a check in the mail, and that's how our business started.
That is insane. First of all, that dude believed that guy. Wow, that is a mentor.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I made him a crap ton of money.
Yeah, he's just like, I might as well just like return a bit of the money that you've made me, but still.
Yeah.
But he took a risk because, like, even if, let's say, he sent the check, it paid off, and you are singing his praise, and obviously you're probably helping him make oodles and oodles of more money. So the investment paid off probably 100-fold from this one little act of charity. Like, this act of charity not only changed your life, but changes your clients' lives and their clients' lives.
Yeah. Look, Jim Ferrari, I owe so much to that guy. Like that's the guy who got us started. And I think if you were to look at that was 10 years ago in 2020 or 2012, October 5th specific. If I were to look back and say, over that decade-long journey, there is person after person who I could name who made an indelible mark in how I think, in how our business operated, in where we're going, and in what we're doing. And I think that's the thing to remember, is that business is a team sport. And if you can find a great team, right? You can find great coaches and great partners. You can see astronomical success. But the problem is, I think for so many people, and it certainly was for me for a long time, I thought it was a solo competition. I thought I just had to put it on my back and go. And the reality is, you make more money by doing less. You make more money by having a great team and great people who are each operating in their own zone of genius, in their own strengths.
Damn. So why did you set up the prepared group? Like, what was, like, obviously you mentioned you walked out of that meeting being like, I can't work for a guy who's willing
Yeah.
to do this to his family, like openly show the darkness of who he is as a person. So what made you decide to go into what you're doing now? Like, what was it or was this the first business you set up? Because you said you own multiple businesses.
So the first company was a marketing agency called Prepared Marketing, and think general agency, right? Use the skills that I had. To quote Gerber, I functionally had an entrepreneurial seizure, right? And so I just, like, I was a tactician. I was great at SEO. I was great at AdWords. I was, decent at website building, and I made money using those skills. And it probably took me, if I'm really honest, it probably took almost 5 years. We kept growing a team and that sort of thing, but it probably took 5 years to really understand that business was not about how good was I at doing a particular thing, right? And here's how I analogize it. I want you to imagine, Phil, that you and I walk into the CEO of Verizon's office. We're sitting down with him, and we say, I read at the New York Times yesterday that Verizon sold 3 million phones last year. How do you have time to sell so many phones, man? The question itself on its face is ridiculous, because obviously that guy is not selling 3 million phones. How many of us in our business act as if we have to sell 3? That lesson was a hard lesson. You can't do everything. You can't be everything. You have to bring people around you who have different skill sets, different knowledge bases to accomplish different things, right? And that's what makes a company. That's what makes an organization is you've got different skill sets and perspectives. And so I think that that led to, as Prepared Marketing kept growing, we ultimately had 12 employees at our height. I've met my business partner, David Baer. And when I met him, he had been a wine importer and was a very well-known marketer in Portland. He was on the Portland Business Alliance board of directors. I mean, this is a well-connected, very well-respected marketer. And his background was in the wine industry. I lived in wine country. And I said, hey, man, why don't we start a wine marketing division of the business? You up for that? And he's like, yeah. I mean, this guy is published author on wine. This guy, I mean, literally today he does wine tours for fun. like it's his side hobby, and so we started doing that. And we found that a lot of the wineries around here are poor farmers, where they sell enough wine to survive, but they're not a big factory farm. They're not making a ton of money. Let's say it costs $650,000 to produce your crop of wine, and they make $700,000 or $750,000. So they're not raking in the cash, even though they're passing a lot of paper, as it were. And so we were sitting down in the office one day, and we were looking through assets that we had, and he kind of stumbled across this process that ultimately has kind of become what defines us. And we spent basically 4.5 years developing and perfecting, and then now we ultimately started licensing that process to other marketing agencies. But it was, using it for ourselves. And again, we had someone who came in and impacted us in a big way and took us from the road of saying, look, we're going to build a giant consultancy to we can reach more people by empowering others.
It's again taking the I can't sell those 3 million phones myself. You're taking it to the next level. Hey, I can't reach those 3 million people if I'm doing it myself, even if I spend so much in ad spend. But if I empower other agencies, 100 agencies, they can that's
yeah. Well, let's just think through some math briefly. Let's say that each agency that I work with can sell 6 clients a year, right? And reasonably, at our current size, without adding another staff member, I could serve 100 agents and serve them well. That's 600 end clients on average, right? What size organization would you need to have 600 clients?
You would need to be at least 100 employees minimum.
Right. And so really, like, as I look at that, as I think about that, I say, okay, we can impact 600 businesses with a 4-person team, or maybe we need 50 people, right? Maybe we need 30 people. I don't know what the right number is to serve 600 clients, but it's a lot. Mm-hmm. You have to have a good, big team. You have to have a lot of organizational process, right? And so we kind of made the decision. We ended up meeting and working with the managing partner of the eMyth organization. And he kind of said, look, guys, you can either figure out how to build this massive organization yourself, or you can build a small organization that has massive impact. And, I'm far more about impact than size.
Ego. Yeah.
It's not an ego thing for me. Like, and to be really honest, it's not even a money thing. Like, if you want to make money in the marketing space, go open a call center, sling whatever is the hot crap of the day. Don't worry about how well it works. Don't worry about how well your clients do. You can have a massive churn rate. That's okay. As long as you have a big sales team, you can basically set up your own boiler room, right? And sling whatever commodity you want to sling and make as much money as you want to make.
It's true.
Right? But you'll have virtually no impact, right? And so for us, it's always been this discussion internally of what's more important, income or impact. And we've always sided on the impact side. Money is a renewable resource. You can always get more money. I don't have any personal need to drive a Lamborghini. I'm 6'5". I wouldn't even fit in a Lamborghini.
It would be weird coming out of the Lamborghini with a Stetson on.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, give me a nice truck, whatever. But I don't think that as people, I don't think we gain more by having more stuff. I don't think materialism leads to more happiness. I think having a healthy family and time with the people you love and care about, and the ability to enjoy yourself on a daily basis, that's far better than massive materialism. And that's not to say that materialism or things are bad. It's just to say, if you could, if you could choose $10 million or your eyes, you're going to choose your eyes every time, because the simple act of sight is so important. Same thing, impact. If you can choose stuff over impact, and there are plenty of people who do. That's just not where we sit.
Impacting more, because eventually that impact will come back to you and help you grow. And if you need to, you can create another stream of income if you need, because you have that ability. So it's not, it's like, as you said, like money is a renewable source. Once you know how to make it money, it becomes a simple process of just, okay, I just need to put some time and effort into this and I'll get them X, Y, Z.
Yep. I was watching this interview with this guy. I don't know who he was. He's talking about this reality show he pitched to Discovery. He's like a multi-millionaire, billionaire kind of a guy. And he said, look, take everything away from me, my contacts, my phone, everything. You give me 90 days, I'll be a millionaire again, because I know how to make money. And the reality show he was pitching was not like something like 90 Day Millionaire, right? I don't know if it was ever produced, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, like there are people whose skill set is, this is how you produce income.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can be comfortable producing income, like once you know how to do it, you're absolutely right, man. You can find another income stream, right? And it's easy. I mean, we have multiple businesses. We've bought and sold businesses. We're constantly looking, hey, what's the next thing we should buy? Where should we put our money? Where should we invest in? Not because, hey, we need a ton of stuff, but because, for me, I've got 5 kids.
You have a few mouths to feed.
But it's more that, what I said to my wife years ago was, I would love when each of my kids turns 18 or 21, or they graduate college, whatever it happens to be, whatever they want to do, they're given a business that they can work in and learn and ultimately take over. Right. So like, I know I've got one son, I'm pretty sure he wants to be a veterinarian. Okay. How cool would it be when he graduates from veterinarian school in, 15 years, right? Because it's long schooling.
Yeah.
How cool is it? Hey, son, here's the veterinary practice that I own, right? You've got a job for you want it there. And when you're ready, I'm going to I'll sign the business over to you. Like for me as a father, that's my dream. Like
that's an ultimate gift.
Yeah. But that's what we want for our kids, right? Yeah. Like that's what every parent that I know, that's what they want for their kids. They want their kids to have security. They want them to have the next step. And that's what we're talking. And so I feel like business is a vehicle for that. It's a vehicle to provide that next step for your family. It's not a means to say, how do I get a bigger house or a better car, or how do I get things to impress people I don't like? I guess that's just me. And so that's what I think the name of the game is the name of the game is how do you bring joy to the people that you care about, while doing good ultimately. Like think about this. Let's say that you and I go and we impact 600 businesses next year. How many families are we impacting? The average business has just 4 employees. That's what, 2,400 families we're impacting.
Yeah.
right? Imagine that you could do that for a decade. And now you've served 25,000 families. Imagine if we measured ourselves by the lives we improved in that fashion instead of the wealth or the stuff we've accumulated. I think that's what it's.
I know, I fully agree, because for the longest time, the reason why I became the podcast mogul and why I'm so passionate about podcasting is because I know the freedom that can come from it. And I want to help as many independent podcasters start making money, because the internet has decentralized money making. Like, you do not need to put in 40 hours a week to get a salary, because Tim Ferriss has shown 4 hours a week. You can get it down to 4 hours a week. So I want to share how, okay, it's very easy. Here's the marketing tips. Do this, do that, and money will start flowing. It will just take time. And if you think the long run is we're going to be about 100 years old, our generation, people born in the 70s and 80s, will live to at least 100 years old, minimum, because of science, how it's going forward. And then the kids join in the 90s and the early 2000s and the 2010s, they're going to be living even longer than that. So we got time to make our money. That's how I think we have to start looking in decades and not in a year, like short years. Because I want it, like I said, my goal is 100 million podcasts, which is easily done, and that's going to change lives. Because if everybody just makes, because there's the white label article, like I keep forget the article, the author, but all you need is 1,000 true fans paying you $10 a month, and you're good for life. That's 120,000 a year. If you can't live off 120,000 a year, just start talking to some financial advisors.
Seriously.
But that's what it is. It's so simple. It's not easy. That's the problem.
Totally.
Ken, I want to know a tip. So you went from deciding to go not work for someone and go all in on yourself and business, and learn that it's not all about you. It's about having a team to help you support your weaknesses. What tip do you have for someone who's on that line, who's like in between jobs, thinking about maybe going all in on themselves?
Yeah. Organizations are about system. And I think very often when you start, you think, well, I'm good at this, therefore I'm going to go do. And I really encourage you, if you're going to start a business, or you've just started a business, or you're, working in a business, you've got to ask yourself, how do I work on developing the systems of this business rather than doing the actions necessary for it, okay? Because here's the paradigm. Systems run the business and people run the. If you can get that through your head and really understand what I'm saying, right? That it's not about how hard you work, it's about how good of a system you develop and how you can improve that system and then bring people in to work those systems. Your business will only be limited by the vision you have. It's the only limit you'll ever face, is how far do you want to take, right? We call them organizations for a reason. That is because what we're doing is we are organizing a collection of systems, people, and processes to get an outcome. And so that's my tip, is think systematically first. It's about the systems. It's not about the work.
Damn. Ken, that was enlightening, because I started thinking about, okay, yes, if I wanted to impact more people, I have to look at how I can build a better system for bringing people in, but also teaching those people how to do the stuff that I know. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. It is about systems, making a better system, and then bringing in people who are better at using the system than you, so that they can improve it and get it to more people.
So let me give you a practical example of this. So we have an onboarding process, and the most important thing in our business today is, how do we onboard new license? How do I take all the knowledge that's in my head and put it, right? Mm-hmm. The faster and the more effective I am at doing that, the more money you make, the more money I make, the more people we impact. Okay. Our first run at this onboarding process was a 3 full days of discussion, lecture, on-site, back and forth with David and I and your team, going through everything. It was like a fire hose, and I loved it, because I love lecturing, I love teaching, I love being in there, answering questions, right? What we found, though, was it didn't spur on the necessary actions, because they were so focused on a broad number of things. So we sat down with some friends of ours who are literal top educational consultants. They train school districts on how do you educate your students. Okay. Literally, Starr, who wrote the book on how do you do this. Like literally, she wrote the book. Okay. It's called Hacking Assessment, if you're curious. And she said, look, it's got to be shorter, it's got to be more focused, and you've got to give people time to learn. So we changed our onboarding, changed it completely. We've seen our licensees go from a 6-month process to get to their first sale to a 2-month process, right? A 2/3 reduction in time on their part and ours because we built a better system. We had a first system, we saw its problems, we went to experts, we rebuilt the system. And guess what? I think we can get even lower. I think we can get it down to not 2 months, but maybe we can get it down to 45 days. And then from there, maybe we can get to 30 days, right? And maybe I can take everything that took me 3 full days, and instead of it taking 3 full days, maybe it can take you a day and a half, right? And so what we did is we ended up saying, look, our onboarding right now, instead of it being by this giant fire hose that covers everything, we're going to take a very lean approach, and we're going to onboard you just in time. So when it's time for you to work on the next phase, we're going to onboard you to that phase. So you know what? The first phase is how do you do needs assessment and how do you sell? That's all we're going to cover. And then once you complete a certain step, once you get that first sale, once you've done a certain number of needs assessments, then we're going to start on how do you do the next phase, which is how do you start delivering the work? But it's not all of the work, it's just a little bit of the work. And once you've gotten that little bit done, it's how do you do the next piece and the next piece, and taking this very lean Toyota just-in-time concept and saying, how do we apply that to our onboarding? Because we think it's going to make things snappier. We think it's going to make it more effective. There's going to be less overwhelm, etc. And we're certainly going to learn from that and have to change. But that's the idea, is the system gets better and better and better, right? We started off with just the brute force of them and us working. Now we've recorded it all. We've structured it. We've systematized it. I can onboard someone and it takes me 1/3 of the time. And that means I can onboard a lot more people a lot faster with less effort because we've built a better system. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about systemization and the value of systems.
Gold. I love talking with entrepreneurs like you, Ken, because just changes it. You're years ahead of where I am, but it's like that's a great direction to go. Plus, you give inspiration to the audience members listening here who are just thinking about jumping in the world, giving them a different idea. We are coming to the end, and I hate this. I'm going to jump in and get the spark question of the show. Ken, what's one goal you have for this upcoming?
Our biggest goal is we want to add 150 to 200 new licensees to our system. That's the thing. That's all of our focus is on that one thing, right? So it's how do we take all of the necessary actions.
Ken, I'm going to jump off the screen. I want you to let my audience know where they can follow you, where they can connect with you, and if they can become one of those licensees for you, sir. So the floor is yours.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Phil. So the best way to connect with us, for me personally, it's LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Kendall Cook, KENDELL Cook. If you want to connect with us, the best way to do it though, get on LinkedIn, connect there. But we have a book club for marketing agents. And so every week we bring in a different video summary of a book because we all know that we should read more. We watch the video summary, and then as a small group of marketing agency owners or high-end business coaches, etc., we chat about, well, how can we improve ourselves and our business in light of what we have just read together or listened to a summary of. And so that would be a fantastic way for you to connect with us. If you're interested in that, you can join our community. It's agencybookclub.com. We would love to see you there. And the commitment that we make is when you come to this event or when you join the community, you get no sales pitch from us and there's nothing for sale. This is purely a time for you to work on your business. And so I would really encourage you just to take that time every single week. I know my partner David and I do this. Set aside time to work on the business, not just. And so that would be fantastic if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what we do, how we license, that kind of thing.
Ken, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and showing us where we can end up going and how we can impact more people like you are today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Phil. I really appreciate it.
To my audience, as always, in the show notes, you'll have all those links to connect with Ken, especially the book club, because I'm going to probably go join it because I need to read more books, and why not learn from better marketers than myself. So Ken, I thank you again for being on the show. And to my audience, remember always to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.